Yo, your man bought in vinyl. Who wants vinyl?
Yo, let me get that.
All right, well, I need one for my house, and I need one for my bedroom, and I need one.
So you're gonna take them all then?
I got one left out of 5. No, I'm kidding. Congratulations. Let's talk about this, man.
Honestly, like I just said to you before, it's my first time seeing it in the plastic. Like
Isn't it crazy?
So it just feels amazing.
It's art. And taking nothing away from why we're here and where we are and what it means to be able to listen to as much music as you want through a subscription. I love it as a fan. I make unlimited playlists and I love just going on a journey.
Yeah.
But I also love holding something in my hand.
Yeah, it's tangible. You know what I mean? It's just like, it means so much. It means so much.
It's a dangerous habit too.
Yeah.
I tell you.
The vinyl is important. We all need it in our lives.
Limited edition, ultra clear.
Super clear.
Have you opened one yet? Have you had a look?
No, like I said, this is my first time in the plastic.
Can we
Please, do it.
You ready for this? You do it.
That.
You do it.
No, thank you. This is a moment. Wow, I'm glad I get to do this with you guys. Honestly.
Dude, we're over the moon and we get to keep one. I'm stoked. Yeah. Here we go. Ready for the clear?
Wow. The clear is crazy, I ain't gonna lie.
This is your music, bro.
Wow.
That's what you put all your heart and soul into, bro.
This is a trophy. This is the trophy. Like,
that's what you put your heart and soul into. Look at that, a physical manifestation of what's going on in your heart and soul, right? Through the filter of art.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah, man.
Crazy. I wish I was at the plant, like watching the whole process, but
it's loud.
Yeah, this is great.
The plants are loud. You need it. You need earplugs for sure.
Yeah, I need my own plant because the amount of time it takes to get these to go.
Who are you, Metallica? Then you need people like that.
No, I'm just saying. I'm like, can we all band together and like?
That's why they did it.
Figure it out.
That's why they did it. When I asked them, why did you guys buy a plant, invest in a plant? They were like, well, we do so many reissues on vinyl. Why wouldn't we manage that process ourselves?
Yeah.
Then I said to Lars, will you be also prioritizing new artists out of the major label system to ensure they get their artists printed up? And he went, it's and James went, yes.
Yeah.
He was just like, yes.
Yeah.
Stop talking, Lars. We're going to do that.
No, because it's like, that's what I want to sometimes. This is not me complaining, but sometimes we want to make last minute changes and whatnot, and sometimes this it can limit you the time that they take to produce it, but it is what it is.
It's worth it in the end of the day.
Yeah,
and look, I mean, if it's a step towards execution, which I always think for the artist, and I know this from personal experience, and anyone who's watching this on TikTok or listening right now around the world on Apple Music or watching this later will understand if you make art, the creativity is something that is ultimately instinctual. When you're in your space, it comes naturally. But the courage to finish and release is hard.
Yes, it is. And it's funny because last time I was here was really like the conversation that we had almost like affirmed so many of the values, because we talked a lot about the values and almost the parameters that I'd set for the record. And that conversation almost like reaffirmed those kind of beliefs that we had, and then because we made loads of songs after that. Do you know what I'm saying? In that period between then and now, songs were made that ended up on this.
And this album sounds free.
Yeah.
Dude, it doesn't sound like you gave yourself so many boundaries this time. I feel like you found yourself into a place where you had something inside that you wanted to say, and you let the music support that as opposed to creating a creative framework you were trying to fit into. For
sure. It was very much like, come, let it come. And it definitely felt like a free process because we were not working as many studios, traveling a lot, and it just felt like a living, breathing process that was just really nice to be a part of.
It felt, and I mean this is the ultimate kind of goal. It felt like a job. I think when you actually go to work and music, you realize music is what you're dedicating your life to.
Yeah.
And it's not just you've got a session between 2 and 6 or go grab that. I mean, you could be doing that whilst you're working a day job at a coffee house. To be able to go to a place and center yourself and make something is a job.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to take it seriously. Do you know what I'm saying? You got to take it seriously and when you take those steps to not be in the studio, not work in the studio, you have to really apply yourself because you know what I mean? It can get floaty and you have to have that focus and know like you said, things have to get finished, things have to get turned in.
Otherwise you ain't gonna get the vinyl to hold in your hand.
Exactly.
Give me my damn record back, bro.
Exactly.
Is there something about having a tangible version of your art that's different for you?
100%. And we always do loads of different tangible products for an album. So we'll do different types of vinyl, we'll do cassette, we'll do CD, we'll do a kind of thing just because it's just nice. You know what I'm saying? The way he's holding it, it's just nice to have that physical thing. And we always kind of try and make a point of going above and beyond to like make that kind of stuff, because I just like it from a fan standpoint. I always liked having those things and being able to hold things, you know what I mean? And then also be able to like design things that people are going to hold. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Well, you've done a beautiful job with this, man. I mean, look at this. Look where the logo just sits right there in the corner.
It's all thought about.
It's all thought about, right? Attention's in the detail. Hey, look at you with your limited edition Stüssy collab right here on the back of the Halo t-shirts.
Yeah, I love it.
Huh? This garment has been individually dyed, producing a one-of-a-kind result, just like Bakar, one-of-a-kind result. Due to the unique process, color may fade or bleed after wash. Do not wash this with your whites.
No,
Do not wash this with your whites.
Cold water.
Cold water. No, look after it. No, shout out to Stüssy, man. That's our third t-shirt. That's like our first collaboration.
Love it.
They always showed love, man.
I remember when Stüssy came out the first time. I remember when Stüssy was a thing the first time, when they had limited designs, but it was hot at the time, and then it went to plateau, and now it's like right back on where it belongs, man. Pride of place, right in the center of La Brea. Hey, bro, we got the album, we got the t-shirt, you came bearing gifts, and all relating to what we love about you, man. Aside from the human being that sits before us, the artist that continues to create, inspires us. Where were you when you started this album, mentally and spiritually?
Mentally and spiritually, it was post-COVID vibes, so you know what I'm saying, we're back outside.
Thank God.
Again, like the conversation we had last time, it was all about just like finding the light. Do you know what I mean? Finding the freedom, finding space.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying? And allowing space. And
how you do that in London?
No, but that's what I'm saying. We were traveling a lot because I was on the road. So we actually started it while I was on the road for the last record, and then things just started coming to us. We put out good news, and then like that felt like the spark. That felt like a trigger to something that just felt really good, and we just followed that. Like
Beautiful.
We just followed where we were being led. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Where did you go in terms of your writing, lyrically and thematically, that was new territory for you? What surprised you? How did you surprise yourself on this?
It was the first time I ever let other people write songs with me. So that in itself was an interesting.
That can be scary.
experience.
That can be scary.
Yeah, and even like that being said, like the person or persons that I let in were like people that I was already really close with anyway.
Yeah.
So it was still tough, but it wasn't as tough as it could be.
So who rolled with you on the album? Who was with you?
So it was like people that had never even wrote before, like actually like technically never had like song. It was like friends of mine that I knew that like we would just like write songs together.
Had something to say.
Do you know what I'm saying? And then like it was one of my friends in particular. His name's Daniel, and we and him had just wrote songs on piano for like years, and always thought like, okay, we should actually go somewhere and like put these songs down and stuff like that. So we already had that relationship, but it was all kind of like jovial and not like, are we actually going to do it? And
we're not going to like certify this. This is just us having fun.
Yeah, and if you go back like throughout time, there's like a long like track record of like, you know, like teachers and people that weren't songwriters that wrote massive songs.
Dude, the guy who, Robert Pollard from Guided by Voices literally was a school teacher for a majority of his sort of first half of his life whilst he was doing the band. Then eventually the band became the priority, but he's like a school teacher and he's like one of the greatest songwriters in modern alternative music history.
Exactly. And I think I heard that story. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, so it was that kind of energy, and it was like, again, that freedom of just like knowing that someone's like, there's a connection there, there's a spark there. It doesn't matter what like anything else is. It's just that like, oh my God, we've got something. We're writing like good words together. Do you know what I mean? And I think it was a joy for my producer also to see me working with someone in that capacity and going back and forth. And
there's a confidence that you need in order to apply yourself into an unfamiliar environment where the other person is unfamiliar.
Exactly.
Right? You go from being someone who, normally artists go into studios with people who know more than them. That's the point of a producer. That's the point of a co-writer. I need you to help me find something I'm trying to say. I need you to help me make it sound a certain way because I need to learn from you. For you to put yourself in a situation where you're guiding somebody else into your world is like unheard of.
Yeah, and you know, he's a very confident man, and he's actually now like going on to write other songs. And
I was going to ask that. Is this the start of a new era in this person's life?
Honestly, like I can't wait for his story to progress because he's actually like started to write songs with some like prominent people. But
what?
But
Daniel's gone from like just joking around with you to writing with you, and now Daniel's in the studio with
he's just
Drake.
I mean, not far off, but like he's just an extremely talented man, and like was making me uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And challenging me in certain ways, and that's just priceless. So yeah, he helped me on like 3 or 4 songs on this record.
Amazing.
Yeah,
that's awesome, dude. I spoke about the confidence that you're showing right now in your music, and then the decisions to work with who you're working with. When did you start to feel like, you know, some of that that doubt, which is totally normal as you try to establish your voice in the arts, find your audience, say something that people will connect with. When did it start to become something you had more confidence in?
I want to say,
was it when you packed out Coachella to the point that me and my family couldn't get in?
That was an amazing moment.
Holy shit. Let's go see Bakar, and it's like, how long is the wait for the security guy? I was like, 23 minutes. I look at my watch, you're on for another 29 minutes. I'm like, that's not going to work.
No, that was a humbling, amazing experience. But honestly, I feel like I stepped out with a certain confidence, if I'm being totally honest.
Sure.
Like, because I was around a lot of musicians that had great taste, and I would be in a lot of the scenarios where...
Because your pops, right? Your pops had the studio. But your
uncle had the studio, but also just friends around me. You know what I'm saying? I'm from Camden. Like, everyone rapped.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I'm saying? Everyone, like, there was a lot of musicians. I was just saying, like, I was explaining to my friend Budgie, he had a studio, and people would come through. Even then, like, I remember, like, Action Bronson would have a show in London. He'd be at
the studio.
At the studio. You know what I'm saying? So we'd just be around musicians and stuff like that. And people always respected my taste and my opinion, like, just in studios and stuff. So I came in with with an air of like, oh, like, I think that people are gonna like my perspective.
Because you have that thing as well. You can't really relate to that thing that we see, but he has that thing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's a non-tangible quality that someone just walks in, and it's not necessarily stoic, but it's like stoic parallel to it.
Yeah,
it's like, it's never get too high, never get too low, and just ultimately, like, trust in your gut. Listen, I'm a human being. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, of course. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's external, like,
what are those
voices.
days like when it gets a little bit too much and you realize that you are vulnerable to that energy?
It can happen. It happened during the process of this album, where even on like, once it was done, and I'm like, what am I gonna put out? And I got so many voices tugging and and then at that it will be in those moments where whatever you believe in comes to the fore and really guides you into just trusting who you are and trusting your taste. And also just like your peers, it might just be a random video. I might just be scrolling on whatever I'm scrolling on and see Rick Rubin talking about the fact that the audience is irrelevant and that I just need to listen to myself, and that might be the moment that I needed to hear it. And it might just be that is like, you know what? Yeah, today I'm going to make my decision, and my decision is the decision.
The true genius superstars, for me, one of the things I've learned in the playbook, as I've done this for a long time, is that they don't disrespect or discount the voices of influence, those that are trying to help them make their best decision, right? To do so would be to isolate yourself to the point of dictatorship almost, creative dictatorship.
And delusion almost.
Yeah, and so, that's not a healthy place to be either. They absorb those voices, but if none of those voices are ultimately helping them get to a place that they can't get to themselves, they use it to resolve their own opinion. They use it to reinforce what it is they know is 100%.
Right. Yo, honestly, that's the thing I do the most with opinion. It's like, that's why I say never too high, never too low, because like, I'll speak to people that I admire, you know what I mean? Or have the opportunity to work with them and talk to them, but it's still like everything with a pinch of salt and take what you will, take what you won't, but you still have to really believe in the thing that you're doing.
Your name on it. It's your name on it.
At the end of the day, and you're gonna have to, it's you that's gonna have to stomach it. You know what I'm saying? When you're like, I wish I did this, I wish I did that.
Your music does sound to some degree about wherever you instill yourself. There's moments on this album, even though you're traveling, I still feel very London-centric, there's something about the way that you can make something sound full with very few elements. There's an urgency to the musicianship. Like the first song on the record has that, right?
Yeah.
It starts with that simple halo, and then it just...
Yeah, and that's Little Simz' voice right at the start.
Love that.
Yeah, that's Little Simz' voice. I just needed, like, we were just hanging out a lot, and I was just like, yo, I need your presence. So like, she just voice noted that for me. Like, but yeah, there is.
She's got an amazing presence.
She has an amazing, she's an amazing human being. I'm sure you know that. And it's like, there's there's that urgency to also just want to tell stories. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like in London, whether it be grime, whatever the thing is, we have a real urge to tell our story. And tell it in a detailed way.
People in Los Angeles and certain other cities tend to tuck ourselves away and build our homes and our relationships and our communities, but it all feels quite isolated. In a city like London, the stories are everywhere. You walk outside your front door, and even if you're in a relatively quiet road heading into the center of your town to catch the tube, you are surrounded by stories constantly around you all the time.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing environment.
It is. And honestly, like, there's right this second, like, in the city, there's just like an amazing energy. It's so creative.
I felt it this summer.
Yeah, it's so creative right now that there's so much great music just in and around. It's just like, I just love being there right now.
Yeah, I bet, man. Where is home in London? You have to give your street, but which borough are you in?
I live in Camden.
Camden?
Yeah, I'm from Camden.
Camden, you still living in Camden?
Yeah, still live in Camden. Like, in a nicer place now, but yeah, I'm still in Camden.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, Camden is one of the tourist centres of London. It's probably North London's tourist centre, aside from the parks. North London's where a lot of the parks are. Beautiful amount of greenery out in North London. That's where we lived. We lived in North London when we lived there majority of our time, and ended up living in Tufnell Park for a lot of our time. We had the kids there and stuff.
Down the road from me.
Yeah, man, I love that
Literally
area. You know, I
down the
love
road
that.
from
Well,
me.
you were so close to all the parks. But when you get into Camden, it can get hectic, right? One of my first jobs, I worked in Camden, and used to buy my pack of 10 Marlboro Lights, sit down and spend whatever pound I had left on like one pastry. It was my like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was like slim, but it's an amazing part of the world, and it's loud and it's intense. And you've never lived until you've gotten off the tube at 8:30 in the morning in Camden.
Yeah,
and the street cleaners are trying to clean the streets with the machines, but you cannot clean that smell.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's strange about Camden, is that it is a tourist spot.
Yeah.
But we lived that's what makes it, and makes people
It's
that
still a
grew up there,
neighborhood.
went to school there. Yeah, because it's like very residential. But then when you go to our high street, and it's just like other people coming from other places in the world to get this dose of, and there's like this kind of like this Amsterdam-y kind of vibe about it, and it's like,
good call.
it's so eclectic, and even for us, like our households weren't as eclectic. Like, we're African, we're a certain way. You know what I'm saying? And our parents came, and they know what they know, kind of thing. And so to have all of this electricity just outside mixed in with like just where we're from.
Well, you're first generation street level curiosity within the North London environment.
Yeah.
Like, if you put it that way, taking nothing away, the ultimate curiosity is to travel to a new country or a new city and immerse and build your family there. That's respect. But to your point, your parents weren't out there seeing what Camden had to offer like you were.
Not at all. Like, they were just trying to pay the bills. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Just trying to put the roof over our head.
So you must have got really good at walking the line between good boy and bad kid.
And that's me. That's literally me, man. And like, that's what there's that it's just intrigue and just just always, like you're saying, it's such a great point that you make, that like our parents really didn't go outside. Do you know what I'm saying? And on top of that, there was only a certain amount of control they could have on us, whether they wanted to be good. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Because they had to do what they had to do.
They had to work, so they got to turn their back at some point.
Exactly. And so whether that's at 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, at some point we're going to be outside. Do you know what I'm saying? So that breeds the people that you see. Yeah.
But you had to know where the break was for you. Some people don't. Some people get a taste of that freedom, especially if they don't have, and they're not coming from an environment that can show them where the line is. A lot of times kids just go, man, there's no line for me. I'm out here. I'm going to hustle, going to make my ends. I'm going to do what I got to do. Yeah. And sometimes it can go bad. You obviously knew, guess through upbringing and through strong guidance, that you can go have fun. You can dabble in the idea of what naughty is and what is going to you're going to have experiences, but you know where the halo sits.
Yeah. And also, and just like where I'm blessed to be spawned where I'm spawned, because we had so many greats, and even in my year, like a band like Wolf Alice, well, like that was a band that like was coming up literally before I was even making music, and then my peers, do you know what I'm saying? We were in the same parties together in our school days. So it's like we had examples, people always doing stuff, like people, whether it was graffiti, whether it was whatever, like we had rap battle culture in our borough. Like, it was just like so much stuff.
Who was showing up?
On.
Anybody everyone's listening to now on the stream?
It was people like Pro Green and stuff that were older than us. Do you know what I mean? It was like those kind of people, even like Example and like those kind of like those kind of guys were like rapping. There's other people that I'm forgetting, but there was just like all kinds of different stuff going on.
I feel like Rizzle Kicks were definitely kicking around at that time.
100%. Yeah, it was all kinds of stuff, and it was just like immersive and a lot going on.
There's a lot going on in North London. There's a lot of musical heritage. I mean, everywhere. South London, obviously, Reputation, West London. It's incredible when you actually break it down borough to borough, how the sounds ultimately shift, and they do shift. Like what goes on out west under the Westway is very different to what you're going to get in Brixton.
100%. It's like even if you go back in the day, it's like grime was very much like they weren't making grime in South London. They were really spearheading UK rap.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's where you get your gigs and etc. But yeah, every different part of the city has their own kind of swag and its own little pizzazz. Do you know what I mean?
You're in a situation now where we got this album Halo. We're going to talk about it in a second, but before we do, I want to take you back. We know every time you make a new project, this is official album number 2, not counting obviously the mixtape. To some degree, this is a reflection of the mixtape. I feel like Bad Kid and Halo, there's a two-sided thing we just touched on. When you think about a song like Hell and Back, and who you were in 2019 and what you were trying to say at that moment in time, who is Bakar? Who are you at that moment?
At that moment, I'm just trying to find my feet as an artist. Honestly, at that moment, I'm just trying to, I think I know what I want to make, but really in hindsight, I don't at all.
That's the best description you could come up with.
Hey. I love that. Look, this man is a man of many, many, many talents.
Must be nice to still be able to play that out, man. Just drop that one, you know what I mean?
Bro, I wrote a letter to that song, and like literally in the last few days, I wrote a letter to this song, basically explaining, because I had such a love-hate relationship with this song over the years, like where it, like at points I've been like, I started off like loving it so much, and then it became this thing that like wasn't mine as almost. And because it was so early in my career, I very much didn't know how to deal with that. Because
it's quite a precocious beginning. You come out with that. It's like the idea of painting such a vivid picture. It's got a real kind of quirky confidence to it that I think would be hard for you to live up to every single time, especially on the days when you're feeling low. So what did that letter say?
It was just like, it was basically just apologizing, but also explaining myself. Being like, listen, like, I know that sometimes I push you to the side. Sometimes I almost treat you like the uncool sibling. Like you're not as cool as your siblings. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, like, you are so many things to us, to the family that is these songs.
So what's your relationship with that song today?
Now you've written the letter.
We are in a great place. We're in a great place because I've grown and I understand and, I feel, and there's just so many emotions when it comes to this song, but this song has done so much for me. And above all else, that is the most important thing. Yeah. And it's a great song, man.
It's a great song, man.
Yeah.
And the thing is, right, it's yours. You have to nurture it and you have to find ways. I can't remember, maybe I was talking to Tom York about this with the idea of some of those Radiohead moments that we all love so much, and they have to find space between those songs to evolve. But then when they come back to them, like the fact they play Creep now, well, who knows when Radiohead are going to tour again, but like, when they did tour a few years ago, they were playing Creep, quite a lot. And it's like, there was a time when you couldn't even mention the name Creep.
Well, I thought that when you were mentioning that, because the last time not last time I saw you, but I saw you at the El Rey, and you would mention like, I hate this song just before playing it.
You said that on stage.
No, but I would do
that's why you had to write the letter, because that's hard.
But I'm so happy that you're in a better space with that song. Obviously.
No, I was disrespectful to that, but I turned down some of the craziest things, like if I really went into it, like opportunities off the back of that song, because I was so, I just didn't want to be that guy, do you know what I'm saying? And I always saw, it became so crazy, bro, so I didn't know how to deal with it, but yeah, I came to terms.
Listen, sometimes you have to push the things you love away in order to reestablish what it is that you love about them.
Yeah.
Because we're all telling you, this song's amazing, you're amazing because of this song. That could be pretty sketchy on how you see yourself.
Yeah, and it's also the context, I felt like for a long time I was like, the context, people aren't deep in it. Like, like it was a hard song for me to even write. Like, when I made it, it was a dark song that got made happy in that context of just how people were taking it. It was just like...
Oh, you had a big lesson there. You realized that your intention through your music isn't always met with the same attention.
Yeah, and that's okay. Like
that's okay.
It's okay.
Because I'm really busy in my life, and I'm just trying to like make dinner right now, and I've just got home, I've had a stressful day at work, and I just like the groove of this. I'm not in your pain.
Exactly. But I always want everyone to understand the duality of what I'm doing. But if they connect to any part of it, it's a blessing.
Do you know how they really come to terms with the duality of what you're doing and who you truly are? Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. If Radiohead, to finish the point, had stopped around the bends, everyone would have been like, that's who they are. But now I have no idea who they are. Because I know how complex they are, but I don't pretend that they're one thing or another.
Yeah. And to your point, like, honestly, it made me sad that you remind me of that, because it's like, you know, I want to do things with chest, you know, and I never want to represent the songs that I wrote like that. Do you know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
So man, so you got to do things with chest.
So
and
are you apologizing?
No, and I loved it because then you just brought out Paris, Texas, and had them play their own track and start a mosh pit at your own show. Because the rest of the entire show was a mosh pit, and that was not a show I was expecting.
I just imagine that when you were angry at that song, if that song was like it would just be like. Just somewhere quiet on its own.
Yeah, bro. Like,
why don't you like me?
That's honestly, I think it really needed
and
the love.
And then you
bro.
wrote the letter.
Yeah, and then I wrote the letter, and it was all good, and it was all good again. But honestly, it took time to get to that place, man.
Was that the first time you realized, like, once you put art in the world, it's not yours anymore?
Yeah, you know, like you hear that, but until you really feel it, because you know, with the apps and the TikToks and whatever, like things can just get so crazy and taken out of your hands. And I never want to take that for granted, man. Like I want to be able to appreciate that.
I don't want to take any of you and your peers for granted, and I don't mind. I'm gonna create a division generationally, even through the statement. I stand by it. I'm blown away by you and your contemporaries and the generations that are coming after you, the way that you navigate this landscape. It is so complex, and so much is on your table to figure out yourselves. Yeah, there were problems signing a record deal back in the day, because if the label didn't get it or figure it out, you're back to the drawing board. But at least you could focus on the art.
Yeah, exactly.
It may not have even been the best decision. Maybe we should have spent more time focusing on what we were doing after we made the music. But now it's gone the other way. Like the amount of the attention currency, even just being on TikTok now, which I love TikTok and I love that we're live, but you have to factor all this stuff into what is effectively a part of your life, which is simple. I have something I need to say, and the only way I can say it is through that.
Exactly, and I have to express like that. I have to express, but like it is an adaptation. But I'm a firm believer in like make great music. You know what I'm saying? I'm a believer in that. Just that is number one. Like, and everything else is a byproduct of that. You know what I'm
saying? 100%. That's why, you know, Tyler can go and build whatever empire he wants, but he'll always come back to the music.
Exactly, and that's why those kind of people are shining stars, because it's like, or at least the black. You know, I gravitate toward as like a black alternative artist. Is like we just need to like keep doing, because there are North Stars to follow, and there are blueprints. You know what I'm saying? It's 2023. Like there are examples. You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to be one of them.
You are one of them for sure. And we're really glad you're here to talk about this album, Halo, man, which is so close. And this album to me, it like I said, it has so much purpose, but it doesn't feel like you overthought it. It just feels like you were searching you were curious yourself is what you were going to say.
100%. I was curious to what that lack of boundary was going to bring. Yeah. Like that I honestly was, because I had to set myself free on this record into not overthinking that. And what that lack of thinking would do. There's songs that on this record that were made not that long before it was turned in. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that feels so good. That like real timeliness that me and you have talked about before felt so good to operate on. Like.
Yeah. Let's talk about Alive. I mean, with the exclamation point at the end, so it's a statement. It's not a word, it's a statement. What are you saying with the title and with the music?
I want to be alive. I want to feel something. Like what that emotion is, you know, it is dependent on the day, dependent on all the, you know, so many things. But I want to feel, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Good, bad, for better, for worse, I want to feel. And just in terms of the process of making the record, like it was another turning point. You know, like when we made Alive, it was me and my producer looked at each other and were like, okay, we're in.
Yeah.
We're locked in. Like, yeah.
I love that. I also just love how raw and real the guitar sound is at the beginning of this.
Yeah. It's funny because we had an argument about it. Me and my producer argued about like cleaning that up, you know, it's the DI. Yeah. And
it goes against the nature of producers and engineers to leave things rough and rugged, but it's in the artist's interest.
Exactly. And if it feels right, it's right.
Then we're invested in you from the start because you're not presenting a finished product expecting us to get it straight away. That's the one thing people used to ask me, especially when these shows were really at their peak. You know, and in America they still do huge numbers. It's mainstream television, but like those talent shows, you know, like X Factor, The Voice, Pop Idol, that kind of stuff. And I'd be like, look, I'm not trying to, like, everyone is entitled to use a platform to try and reach an audience. And if you come up with a format this sticky that millions and millions of people care about it and spend money on it, then man, fair play to you. You cracked the code, right? Yeah. The thing that I struggle with is that whenever it comes to the end, I'm expected to be a super fan, like I've known this person my whole life, and I've got no space to invest in them. Yeah. I'm supposed to invest through the season, but it's like I feel like that's just puppetry work. Yeah. Like I need to know, to your point, that when you start that song with that guitar that sounds like you just picked it up in your living room or bedroom to use it, and then by the time Daniel sees it, I don't know if people are supposed to know that, shows up halfway through and plays the beautiful sounding acoustic guitar, I'm invested in that experience.
Yeah, and I think there's so many examples that we've either heard or whether we know or doesn't know, where it's like the mistakes are the bit. That, you know what I'm saying? The mistake was the bit. That lack of imperfection was the bit, like, that drew us to the thing.
We want art, not algebra.
Exactly. And like, and it's just like, I don't want to dwell in I also don't want to dwell in good or bad too long. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
it just is.
It's not like, cool, you lot make that decision. Like, that's almost like the less important decision to me. Yeah. And the more decision is how do I get to this next idea, like, as soon as possible, so I can make like decisions on that.
Man, the videos you've been making too for this project feel like they give that same energy of like that long take, that like giving you your raw self. They're absolutely crazy, alive. You just like dancing in the street, like man. The truck with "I'm Done." Like,
yes,
they're beautiful. Where are those coming from?
Those are coming from, I did them with a director duo called Rubber Band, and we just wanted to do something different. You know, I felt like things were just like, I was looking at the designs, I felt like things were like a bit over stylized, and just like, I really was getting a vibe that my audience was connecting to, and I'm not just gonna do what's connecting, but I saw that like things with, when I was presenting my art with a certain energy and a certain like presence, and maybe even with a smile, it was resonating a certain way, and I liked what that was doing. And so with Alive, it was like trying to really bottle up this carefree energy as much as possible, and just let yourself go a little bit more. Do you know what I'm saying?
And let yourself
go, and not take yourself and it too seriously. Like, there should be, like, it should. I hate saying the word fun too much, but because I don't think it tells the whole picture.
Oh, you think people are gonna, like, you know, trivialize your process because he's just doing it for the fun?
Yeah, exactly. Nah. But like, there needs to be that aspect in it, you know, especially as artists.
Well, that's one of the things, and I really do make a point of this, not to continue to add awareness for the people that aren't aware of the incredible influence this individual had during his too brief time on the planet. But I feel like Virgil saw in you that. Virgil always wanted to make sure it was fun as well as valuable and of real influence. Yeah. But he felt like he did things from a place of fun. And I like to speak to people, of which there are many that we talk to, who had that personal experience or felt like Virgil touched their journey in a very real way, to just kind of reflect on that a little bit, because I feel like you do carry that with you.
It's such an important part of creating, and like that child being in you, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, never really, never like detaching from that. Do you know what I'm saying? Always being able to go back to the thing in you that questions everything, that, you know, that prods.
Don't get jaded.
Yeah, like, don't get jaded, and like, wants to keep exploring. Like, it's really important.
Yeah, it's really important, man, for sure. What about the Summer Walker joint, man?
Oh, bro.
That's another one Kurt gave to 100 people on my part. No, I'm just kidding. He said that to me super confidential the other day, and I listened to it, I was like, oh.
No, but like, on that note, it's like, it was important that it was her. Because I like...
Why? I mean, obviously why,
because
but why?
To me, she's like the Amy of this whole thing right now. To me, like, just the energy, the honesty that she puts out into the world.
It's the lyrics, eh?
Yeah, but I was listening to a song of hers the other day, and I was just like, this was exactly what was like, we thought was going on external, and then she goes and writes a song and just bottles it up and explains it all. Yeah. And I'm just like, that's a real skill. Like, that's a real... And I just think she's special. And with everything I said to you, I was saying before about the record and how I felt, I just felt like I kind of wanted to cap it off. You know, I wanted to cap it off, and I think this was just like a best way to do it.
Yeah, man. Little Simz just opens it up with a one-word intro. You got Daniel Caesar showing up, bringing his best acoustic in the background. You got Summer performing as always and writing. Who else is on this record, bro?
You know, there's some other bits. People that aren't even like musicians. Like one of my good friends, Renelle Madrano. She's a photographer. She shot Kendrick's album.
Yeah.
She's the voice from the start of I'm Done. Like, because we were. Like the studio that we finished the album at was Electric Lady. She's from New York. She would come to the studio to hang out, and naturally she was just saying funny stuff that we, you know, us as Londoners, like we just hearing her, and like it was recorded. She said that, and it was just funny to us, so we used it. Like, and without us really knowing, like there ended up being a whole host of just like really important Black women that like lended their voices. Another one of my friends, Mona Tugard, she's like a supermodel at this moment, you know, just having an incredible moment right now on the cover of everything you see. And she speak at the end of Writing for Now, that's her talking. And so we just ended up just having, and that just comes from natural, just, you know what I'm saying? Natural vibes. And yeah, man, we ended up having like really great Black women on this record.
Bro, we just got to keep doing this every time. It's so cool having you in the studio hanging out with us, man. And I get such joy knowing that you've hit your stride. Like,
thank you, bro. I really appreciate it, and I honestly feel like I'm just getting started, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's so cliche, but I really just want to. There was a big break between Bad Kid and Nobody's Home. You know what I'm saying? In terms of like us putting body of work together, it was like 4 years.
You're too busy being mad at music.
Yeah, and just like being confused, exactly. But then I got it together, and like now it's just like, we just want to output, man. We just want to output. I look at all the greats, you know what I'm saying? I look at just back in the day of, you know, people putting out amazing records year on year out, and I just, you know, I want to be able to output at that level. Yeah.